let's go to the first claim that Jon Stewart is making regarding tariffs, that we are blaming everybody else for a system we designed.
But we continue to blame everybody else in the world that we designed and policed after World War II. We're the richest country in the world ever.
I told you. Look, Jon Stewart, he's talking about tariffs. I'm trying to think of how to set this up because pretty much everything he says is wrong, and he kind of encapsulates what we told you would happen regarding the worldview. Just as you watch this, remember, anti-American. And that was a term that was thrown around a lot, but I mean it here. So let's first go to the media and see exactly what they are saying. So you can see that Jon Stewart is also carrying their water regarding this Donald Trump New World Order. That's how they're describing it, right? Which, by the way, was coined by Bush Sr. They're saying he's trying to create a new world order. No, he's trying to destroy what was the New World Order as far as globalism, global non-free trade, and of course, because they don't care about you, the American worker, the American business owner, they are panicking. Here's a media montage starting with Wallace from Wallace and Gromit.
Where do you see the balance going forward for the president to start having a negative cost to this reframing of the world economic order?
His longer-term plan is to create a new world order.
How could you possibly do this? How could you go down this path? How could you personally and intentionally destroy a global trading system?
Musk and Trump are actually destroying our processes. They're actually harming us. They're actually creating fear.
I don't understand how one person can destroy something so well.
What you have
Pause.
is...
Oh, my God.
You know, someone just looks evil. He looks like if there was a you know those dinosaurs you get in cereal boxes? If there was a George Soros dinosaur before you add water.
He looks like he's wearing a bald cap on his entire face.
He looks like Andrew Klavan playing George Soros.
He looks like a ball sack is what he looks like.
He does. He looks like if you go to the optometrist's office and they put the glasses on like that faceless head to showcase the glasses, only the optometrist's office had a fire.
He looks like an unfinished clone.
Yeah. He looks like Freddy Krueger before the accident in his man cave.
Oh, poor Freddy.
Looks like he washes himself with just lube.
Yes.
Scrubs it on.
He looks like he was born at the age of 71. Let's continue.
an attempt to rip up not only the global world order, the liberal world order, but to also completely destroy the world economic globalized trading system.
Don't get me any harder.
I can't vote for him again.
I know. Come on. There's only... Let's go to claim truth. And this is Jon Stewart. And you can comment below, would you rather be stuck in an elevator, a non-operational elevator with Jon Stewart or John Oliver? I would pick Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is very funny. Jon Stewart is very good at what he does. Jon Stewart is just... There's something that happens when you are steeped in this. Your whole life, really, for him. But I've seen people, they go to LA, they go to New York, and even people who are more right-leaning, after a few years, boom, they just start parroting the same talking points, and there's no self-awareness left. Let's go to the first claim that Jon Stewart is making regarding tariffs, that we are blaming everybody else for a system we designed.
But we continue to blame everybody else in the world that we designed and policed after World War II. We're the richest country in the world ever.
I told you. What did I tell you? And by the way, just because we're the richest country, when you have some people who are insanely wealthy, doesn't mean that you are, and doesn't mean that you are not being affected. They don't take that into account. You, the American worker who subsidizes the world. But I told you that this was going to be their argument, that well, you can just afford it, right? Being rich doesn't make you moral or immoral. Here's me predicting this back then. They say the United States can afford it. When they are saying the United States can afford it, whether it is USAID, whether it is the IRS, CIA, FBI, whether it's our spending into NATO, UN, whether it's what we send to other nations, whether it's how we are subsidizing these illegal immigrants in this country, what they are really saying when they say the U.S. can afford it is the American worker can afford it. And that includes those who are employees and small business owners. You can afford it. To which Jon Stewart said, you can afford it. That is their argument. You can afford it. Let me ask you, do you feel like you can afford it? $150 to $250 billion a year that you have to pay as a taxpayer for illegal immigrants. Do you feel like you can afford it? Germans have free internet because they haven't paid into NATO, but you have through your tax dollars. Do you feel like you can afford it? And this is the problem with class warfare, which you can go back to Bernie Sanders. The idea that someone rich must be inherently bad. Look, just because we can afford it doesn't mean it's right to steal from us. If you live in a good neighborhood and the nicest house on the block with the wealthiest people on the block are incredibly generous, they hand out baked goods, they constantly come over, ask you if you need anything, they give you their old clothes, their hand-me-downs, they're great. Does it make it right for you to rob their house just because it's the nicest, most expensive one? It's irrelevant. The amount of wealth that I have, or Gerald has, or Josh has, or anyone in this room is completely irrelevant to the morality of your actions, Germany, Mexico, China. Let's continue with his argument on tariffs.
We're not the world's victims. If we have inequalities in this country, that's on us. It's not a supply problem. It's not unfair trade for the most part. It's an investment and distribution problem. It's our fucking fault. And I'm not saying we can't make adjustments and renegotiate things, but it didn't have to be this reckless. You killed the hostage and then went, so ransom?
Okay, that's a funny joke, but here's the truth. The system has not only outlived its useful purpose. Yes, we are the wealthiest country in the world, post-World War II, but it's now morphed. It's metastasized. Metastasized. It's cancer, okay? It's a hard word to say.
It's rough.
It's now a cancerous growth, meaning the rest of the world. Yes, this system was created because we had the Cold War. Right at that point, the United States would help other economies in exchange for really some kind of guarantee as it relates to international security or influence. It was choose the United States over the Soviets. Now, the Soviet Union, before we get to the fact that it no longer exists, let's take into account that that's kind of the reason for some of these agreements. All right, we'll make a sacrifice if you choose the United States over the Soviet Union. But we now find ourselves at the point, or as Jon Stewart describes it, we're not the ones being taken advantage of. We now find ourselves at the point where the system designed to keep the Soviets at bay, who are a great threat, is being used for European nations to put tariffs on our energy, demand that we spend more money funding the Ukraine war against Russia while they buy their energy from Russia. It's your own fault. Sure, I agree with the premise. This system is no longer relevant because the Soviet Union no longer exists, just like Kwanzaa.
Come on, everyone, it's Kwanzaa time. Let's come together now, it's Kwanzaa time.
Screw you for popping that in there.
Oh, come on, Steven, don't get mad at me.
That was the first time I ever hated myself.
Well.
Was as a child, they said, hey, the Christmas special, you want those royalties? You have to sing the Kwanzaa song. I'm like, crap, this is Canada, so I can't shoot myself.
That was you singing? It sounded like black women.
I know. No, I was able to.
You're talented, dude. I didn't know.
Like a grasshopper, I can throw my voice.
All right.
By the way, we were a pretty rich country before this arrangement was put in place. Also, we're kind of rich to some degree in spite of this ongoing agreement.
Right.
Like you said, it makes no difference. But what would $20 trillion back into our economy look like for this country? Do you think those inequalities might be a little easier to deal with if $20 trillion was here instead of overseas since 2003? That's that differential we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
Would that be good, Jon Stewart?
Right.
Should just shut up and be happy that we have what we have? No.
Right.
I don't think so.
Here's another key truth, by the way. Right now, we're dealing with China. China is not the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Okay? The Soviet Union was excluded from that. China is that system. Let me be really clear about what is happening with China, okay? What our trade, what our fiscal deficit means. We buy more goods from China, right? Our deficit is $300 billion. We create more jobs in China than they create here. Since 2001, the United States has lost 4 million jobs to China alone. You, the American worker, you subsidize this system. All references, links in the description. To give you an idea how perverse this has become, as we sit here and we bitch about tariffs and the catastrophe, even though I believe the S&P closed slightly higher than it opened yesterday, to give you an idea, is the United States Navy, in protecting cargo ships, literally maintains the communist dictator the communist dictatorship of China. I'll go one step further. We have to fund the Navy, which in turn protects Chinese interests, but we have to borrow money to fund the Navy from China.
So you could say they're paying for their own protection.
You kind of could.
In a way.
Good luck calling in the bill. And here's the third key truth that, of course, the left never really even takes into consideration. It's not the only thing that matters, but at a certain point, when you do look at the debt, which is being driven up through this system, in 1991, we had about a $3.6 trillion debt. Today, it's $36 trillion. The interest payments alone are more than the military budget. At what point do you say, hey, hold on, wait a second. The interest payments we're borrowing to fund this military that maintains these foreign adversaries abroad, how much, by the way, we're also spending money into NATO that no one else is spending. They're not, I believe Poland and maybe France are the only two exceptions now that Donald Trump stepped up. So they're not actually funding the military. They're not having to borrow money to protect the rest of the free world. And that's coming from our tax dollars. Oh yeah, internet, you're giving, Germany, you're giving free internet and you guys are free socialized health and 19 weeks paid vacation while you bitch about how the United States is a meritocracy? I agree. The system is broken, and it's broken because of ungrateful brats across the world. We're borrowing money to protect you while you don't even honor the contract.
$36 trillion. I didn't even know that amount of money existed.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Really?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I felt dumb for a second. I'm like,
no.
Josh, you see what you do? You just keep adding zeros.
Yeah.
And you're fine.
Is that Chinese monies?
Well, no.
What do they call their money?
That's our money. What is it?
The Minbi.
The
useless?
Minbi. Yeah, pretty much useless.
Is it? Lane's freaking out if I'm wrong, by the way.
I know it's not the yen because that's the other Asians.
Well, let's pay him in that.
Yeah,
And
let's just confuse them.
know.
You know what? Screw it. Let's pay them in pesos. See them do some long division without graph calculators for a change.
The funniest name for money is the Vietnamese dong.
Yes, it is.
Literally a dong.
Yes, it
and the
is.
dong is down right now.
Clip that. The dong is down right now.
No. You play your cards right, my dong will rise. Dong higher. Large. Happy. Throbbing dong.
We have the most dong.
That's right, my dong is thriving.
We must make our dong go up.
Dong go up. Your dong go down. You have one dong. I have 6 dong.
That's my favorite position, downward dong.
By the way, none of this, we're going to get to John Oliver too in the Mug Club Undercover. None of this happens without you download the Rumble app. Please, if you're out there and you want to stay in touch, you only get notifications when we are live. That's the best way to do it. Follow us on Rumble, download the app. You can cast to your TV. It's seamless. Rumble is there now as far as the technology. Let's move on to the next claim. And this one is kind of nuts, but he makes it that the economy is crashing. Okay. I don't even necessarily know that I agree with that premise. By that, I mean I don't. And Trump did it on purpose.
The worst 3 consecutive sessions since 1987.
Even worse than it was during the 2008 financial crisis.
Their worst day since June 2020 during the COVID pandemic.
Financial destruction not seen since the pandemic. And this time, there's no controversy over how it all started. There's no wet market. You, Trump, released the contagion. It's your lab leak.
They don't hear what they're saying. They go, it's the worst that we've seen since 2008. First off, you guys remember 2008? Does it feel like that? Let's be clear. Remember, these are the same people the first term of Donald Trump said that our economy was awful. And they said that it was actually doing really well under Biden. Don't believe your lying eyes and ears. You remember 2008? I hear, 2008. How was that created? Oh, the subprime loan crisis.
Yeah,
that's right, the housing crisis. But we're talking about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Barney Frank Dodd. Oh, okay, that's right. That was liberal policy. It was orchestrated. Then he says the worst since the pandemic. Okay, let me ask you this. Who orchestrated the lockdowns?
That's right.
Who demanded that we have vaccine mandates?
Who closed down small businesses?
Who kept schools closed for 2 years.
They voluntarily cratered the economy because old people were getting sick and dying.
We know how you feel about that.
Listen, I'm not even going there, but I'm just saying it's so ironic. They're like, I can't believe he would do something to the world order and try to turn things over, and it's going to throw the economy into a tailspin. It's not even clear that that's actually going to happen. But you did it voluntarily last time with more information on why you shouldn't have done it.
Also, yeah, stock market matters, sure. But it's probably the least valuable metric by gauging a presidency because it goes up over time. Now, you may have some presidencies where, depending when someone leaves, if it takes a sharp downturn or a sharp spike, but it's kind of the issue over which the president has the least amount of control. It is one metric that you take into consideration. More important ones as far as how it affects you would be things like labor force participation, average household income. For example, we saw that go up by over $4,000 in the first Donald Trump presidency. We saw it go down by $4,000 in the Biden presidency. These numbers matter. The stock market's always going to have some volatility, especially when you have to correct course because we have a system in which the rest of the world mooches off of you, the American worker. But hey, crashing the economy on purpose. I don't know if you know this. The March jobs report, this was something nobody expected in the media, came in way above expectations. There's a first in 4 years.
Diane, we should note that it is not all doom and gloom here. The March jobs report was actually better than expected. 228,000 jobs were added last month, beating economists' estimate of 140,000 added jobs.
So that affects you.
Jeez.
And here's what's funny. Notice how they've moved on. They had... Just go through your mental Rolodex here. What was the argument all over leftist Reddit, on social media when Donald Trump first became president? Right? And he was racking up these wins. The left, and they actually coached other leftists. They would say, yeah, answer with, how about the price of eggs? How about the price? Notice they moved on from the price of eggs completely to the stock market. It's just a game of whack-a-mole because egg prices are down 47% since Donald Trump took office. That affects you.
Jeez.
So let's just recap this to be clear. People like Jon Stewart and the media, status quo, more money. They want to continue the status quo of the global economic system, where they're actually bemoaning the idea that Donald Trump is destroying, according to their words, this new world order to establish a newer new world order. They're saying the quiet part out loud. It used to be considered a conspiracy theory if you referred to the new world order or if you talked about globalism. They are now advocating for globalism. Now, what does that mean? Okay, we have to borrow from China, a communist dictatorship, to finance our debt, and then use that debt to finance our military to protect Chinese shipping while they put tariffs on our goods. Let's look at this system. We subsidize Europe's defense against Russia entirely because they don't spend into NATO, while they demand that we spend more of our money, a never-ending supply. Right? One of our greatest sins was finally pinching that valve, shutting off the tap on money to Ukraine, while they put duties and tariffs on fossil fuel exports from the United States and spend more money on Russian energy than they did supporting Ukraine. That's the system. That's the status quo. It's not maybe there are some negotiations. This is Jesus Christ flipping over the tables in the temple time at that point. Are you starting to get the picture? Everything I have just said is factually correct. Does that put it in context?
I think it does.
Wait, we're borrowing money from China and they can't actually run their globe without our Navy?
Do you understand what you're saying? And China is supposed to overtake us at some point, and we're supposed to just sleepwalk into a moment where China now has all of the leverage over us and militarily would catch up to us at some point? You really want to play that game? And by the way, there are people out there like Bill Ackman saying, well, Trump should have just done like a 30, 60, or a 90-day pause so that he could negotiate. I'm sorry. He said he was going to count to 3. Right. He got to 3.
Yes.
Nobody came to the table. He said these tariffs were coming on April 2nd. Everybody had advance warning. They were going to be reciprocal tariffs at least. They knew that was going to be bad enough. Did people come to the table and negotiate?
Yep.
No. Trump got to 3. The punishment gets implemented. You want to come and negotiate now? Fine. It's from a position of strength.
Well, some people did.
A line again.
Some people did come to the table and negotiate.
Some people came to the negotiate. That's fine. But not China,
use the example.
Not the EU.
We discussed this yesterday. Israel, right?
Yeah.
Now, Netanyahu came out and said, not only are we going to get rid of our tariffs, he said, because it's the right thing to do, but we're going to eliminate this deficit. We're going to eliminate this trade deficit. We're going to start purchasing more from the United States. Now, they're not a huge economic partner for us, to be clear, the Israelis. But just take that And imagine if 50% of the countries that are facing tariffs took the same approach. I guarantee you, I would bet my life, you'd be entering an era of the United States, a new golden era, without a doubt. If everyone took that approach, it's the right thing to do. No more tariffs. I don't know how we got to this point with these tariffs. And you know what? Yeah, it's a fair ask. You do a lot for us. We're going to start purchasing from you. Yeah. Hey, what if the EU just said, okay, you know what? Not only no more tariffs. Yeah, hey, why wouldn't we purchase the energy from you instead of Russia?
Yeah, our greatest enemy.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Yep.
Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.